Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bilal, and in this YouTube channel, we talk about interesting stories of the law. So today, we're going to be talking about a guy who refused life-saving treatment, and as a result of that, there was an 85% chance that he would die. So let's go from the beginning. So in this case, there's a patient, and he had a leg injury, and that leg injury developed into something called a gangrene leg, and the doctors recommended amputation. So they would amputate his right leg. Um, and if he didn't have his leg amputated, there was an 85% chance that he would die. Now, an important part of this case is that this person also had paranoid schizophrenia, and he had a delusional belief that he was a doctor and he could cure his own limbs. He also believed that God did not want him to have this treatment. So he refused to have his leg amputated, but he did accept an alternative form of treatment, and his leg did get better with that alternative form of treatment. But he also wanted the hospital to provide an undertaking which basically stated that they would not amputate his leg in a foreseeable future without his express consent. So the hospital refused to provide that undertaking. So this guy goes to court and he applies for something called an injunction, which would stop the hospital from amputating his leg. So the question for the court was, does this guy have capacity to make this decision in relation to his treatment? Now, remember what I said, this guy has paranoid schizophrenia. He thinks that God does not want him to have this treatment, and he also has a belief that he's a doctor and he could cure his own limbs. And just to clarify, he's not actually a doctor, but that's the belief that he had. So please leave a comment if you think he has capacity, if you think that the court should grant the injunction, which would mean that the doctors cannot amputate his leg. What are your thoughts? Does he have capacity? He doesn't have capacity, or just your thoughts in general? It will be really interesting to see what people think. So, like I said, what the court said is that he does have capacity. So now the court said he has capacity, and I'll just break it down. I'll break the judgment down into three key factors that we can get from this case. First of all, it's established that everyone's presumed to have capacity unless it is established that they do not have capacity. So this leads to the second question: what is capacity? So the capacity is able to understand the capacity is the ability to understand the information and to weigh that information. So if the patient is able to understand the purpose of the treatment, the effects of the treatment, and the nature of the treatment, and he's able to understand that information, weigh that information, believe it, retain it, then it's established that they have capacity. So the case is important for two main reasons. First of all, it demonstrates that just because somebody has a mental illness, it does not mean that they do not have capacity. You can still have capacity and be able to make decisions in relation to your treatment. Secondly, it demonstrates the importance of someone's autonomy and the right to self-determination. And autonomy is a key factor, and it really demonstrates the court's emphasis on those two factors. And that importance is demonstrated by the court saying that just because somebody has an irrational belief, it does not mean that they do not have capacity to make decisions in relation to those treatments. You can still have an irrational belief and you can still have capacity. And I think that's really important because everybody will have a different set of beliefs and a different set of values. Now, of course, I do acknowledge that in this case, he was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia and he had a mental illness. But nevertheless, it was his decision to make in this case. And every case, when it comes to capacity and when it comes to medical law, these cases are very fact specific. So there's a lot of emphasis on the facts of the case. And in this case, his paranoid schizophrenia did not impair his ability to make that decision, despite the fact that it was based on an irrational belief. The fact that he understood the information and he was able to come to a conclusion, that was enough for the court to say that he has capacity. Now, of course, it could have gone the other way. He could have not have his leg amputated, so he didn't have his leg amputated, and he also could have died as a result of that, but he didn't. His leg recovered and he did get better. And so it leads me to my last point. If you like this video, please subscribe and please like the channel.